Welcome back to the Pendulum Podcast. We are joined by one of our OGs.
OG.
The Aubrey Logan. And we are really excited to have her on the show.
I'm happy to be on the show. I feel old.
You feel old?
No, actually, I feel very vivacious and young because I've been at Pendulum this long and I can live my life in functional fitness land. But
wow,
we'll save it for later.
You know what? Maybe I should have scripted you a little bit harder. So, Aubrey has been a member of ours since 2014.
2014.
She was one of our original 35. We had a special rate for the first 35, and she's one of those people. Mm-hmm. And when I was thinking about doing the podcast, naturally, you had to be like one of the first people to be on the show.
I'm honored. Yay.
Mostly because you are you, and it's going to be a great show, I'm sure of it. But two, also because I think you have a unique story that other people should hear about.
I'm ready to talk about it too.
And also because you've seen all of our evolution here.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of cool to have you be through another thing with us and to have like this next iteration of whatever this turns into. And I'm excited about it. So anyway, so tell us about you. Tell us about who you are, and we'll get started.
Yeah, so my name is Aubrey Logan. My married name is Aubrey Knight. My husband is a member at Pendulum as well. But a lot of people know me as Aubrey Logan, which is good that they know me as that because I was born that, so that's fine. And I use that name so much because I'm a musician. I'm an artist, and I tour a lot. I sing, and I write songs, and I play trombone. And I'm a trained musician too, and yada yada. So I use that name still, and but for all intents and purposes, at Pendulum, I'm Little Aubrey Knight. That's fine too. We can say that. But before I ever knew about CrossFit, I'll just dive right in.
Do it.
I have like a fitness journey, as all of your members do.
Yeah.
I have a health journey, and I'm sure mine's not as unique as I used to think it might have been. And when I was in college, I went to college in Boston after I grew up in the Seattle area. And when I was in college,
where'd you go?
I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. Yes.
That place?
That place. Yeah. And I loved it there. I really, I would say my fitness journey starts there.
Okay.
Because it was not the best times in my fitness life, but it was times. And I did well as a student there. I was respected among my peers and faculty, and I enjoyed being there. And I enjoyed playing music, and I enjoyed meeting everybody at my college that I now even still work with to this day, many of those people. And I wasn't a partier. I wasn't a college. I was a good girl. I'm still kind of am. And
yes,
kind of am. And I didn't do, what even my roommates would do. I wasn't out drinking, and I wasn't out, smoking weed. I went to music school, so that was
a normal part of the thing.
And I didn't, and I don't judge people who did. I just didn't. And so I found myself, this pattern started for me. I would work really hard in school, and then I would do my own shows while I was at school. I would work. I worked in a wedding band. I was paying my rent doing that. I taught music as well as was a student, and I would find myself alone in my dorm room my freshman year because my roommates were away doing their thing. And right across the street, there was a Dunkin' Donuts, and everybody at school went to Dunkin' Donuts all the time.
If you're from Boston, you totally go to Dunkin'.
Yeah, you totally go to Dunkin'. But everybody went to Dunkin' all the time, and this Dunkin' Donuts happened to be open till something like 3 a.m. Like, they were open so late.
As they should, because
Right.
they're in if they're across the street from a college
Oh,
or
yeah,
a
that's when they're
university,
business.
like
That's when they
yeah,
get their business. So I'd be alone in my dorm at 1 a.m. And it started with, okay, well, of course I'm going to go to Dunkin' Donuts. Everybody goes. So I went and I would get a donut. And then I would come to my room and I would eat the donut. And then I would be alone and I'd be like, well, I want another donut. So I'd go across the street and I'd maybe order a dozen donuts again.
huh,
And then I'd eat a couple more. And then before I know it, I would eat all of them. And then I would go across the street again and then get another dozen and then eat them again. And then this would happen. And then and at first it was like no big deal, kind of. It was like, well, I guess everybody goes on a donut bender from time to time, right? And then
sure,
it became so repetitive. And then I would do these things where I would like start to feel emotional about it, like guilty about it, wake up every morning and go, well, that was a bad idea. I'm never doing that again.
right,
And then I would do it again and then again. And then it was always at night, always after dark, always alone. I never did this in front of anyone.
Interesting.
And
So
then,
it was very much like a shameful
very
thing.
much, very much. And I would only do it in secret. Especially, I mean, I would eat one donut with someone, but I would never eat 12. And then I would do like sometimes fast, quote unquote, the next day, which wasn't really in the right mindset at all. And then I would
As a punishment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or and occasionally, once or twice, I did purge occasionally, and that wasn't the purging wasn't a major pattern for me. I know it is for a lot of people, but the like fasting was a major pattern for me. And so I started to get this was all while I was nobody knew.
Sure.
I had a great time. I mean, other than this little issue, which is a big issue, I had a great time. I became, successful doing what I was doing. I loved the music. I was respected by people. It was great. I loved it. I had a boyfriend. He was my husband's roommate.
I love that story.
Yeah, that's another thing. But everything was good. Everything was really quite good, except this one weird little thing. And so, of course, I gained weight. I gained probably the freshman 20 or freshman 30. Well, maybe not 30, but because I'm small. I'm a small person. I don't gain, 30 pounds is a lot for me. And, 10 pounds is a lot for me. And, but I slowly gained weight. And then throughout my college years, and then I met my husband and we started dating and we got married really young. And that was awesome. And I kept up, my career kept taking off and I kept doing more and more. And but right before my wedding, I remember I had gained more weight and I had this manager and he had, and that was a big business issue that I had to get through. And so all this stress and I was gaining weight from binge eating. I wasn't gaining weight from like normal standard American diet. I was gaining weight from like binging.
Right.
Bad, crappy food. And it as an addictive behavior, not as a slow and steady behavior.
Right.
And one day it was almost my wedding day and my dad noticed, which was like the biggest failure of my life. And and I didn't think I could tell my parents about
because
this.
you're incredibly close to your
very
parents.
Very much so, but we never really talked about this yet.
Right.
And one day it was like literally the 2 days before my wedding and I'm at home visiting my family and we sit down, this is 10 years ago, and we sit down and I'm crying in front of my dad and he's like, and I was telling him, Dad, you're never going to understand. You're never going to get it. I know it sounds insane. And he goes, well, try me. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll understand. And I was like, okay, well, I do this thing where like I binge eat a ton of food. And then the next day I'll tell myself I won't do it again. And then I don't for a while, for 12 hours. And then I do it again. And it's ridiculous. And I know it doesn't make sense. And I know I could just have one cookie and eat normally. And because what I would do is I would go crazy and then I would think, well, I might as well just go crazier. Sure. It wasn't like this balance.
Sure.
And then he looked at me that day and said, Aubrey, you think I don't understand? Of course I understand. I do the same thing. And it changed everything.
Sure.
And see what where this ties into CrossFit is when I lived in Boston, I lived across the street from Fenway Park one time. Uh-huh. And they opened this gym across the street, CrossFit Fenway.
Yeah.
And I I was poor and in college and there was no way I could afford it, but I was watching them work out because I was going to this, Globo gym and it was fine, but I was trying to look like something. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know what. I mean, it wasn't even defined what I was trying to look like. But I was trying to look like something. And then I saw these people, doing pull-ups and not using machines and doing wall balls and lifting barbells and I had this tiny gymnastics background because when I was a kid, I was in musical theater and gymnastics was a supplement. And so I did gymnastics. So I was like, oh, that kind of looks familiar. Some of this looks familiar.
Sure.
I've pulled up before. I've, done some of these things before. And so I'm thinking, well, I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
And so I started avidly researching CrossFit and I quickly became a parent. And this is all while I was like binge eating in college, right?
Sure.
And because I was as unhealthy as my patterns were, I was obsessed with health. I was obsessed.
Because it was a reaction.
Right.
To what you were experiencing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but then I was like, oh, well, CrossFit, oh, this is interesting. People work out in order to just get better at moving.
Mm-hmm.
They're not working out to look a certain way. They're working out to get better at a movement or increase their capacity for something. So I'm going, well, that's a better mindset. And I knew it. I mean, I knew it in my heart that this was a better way for me, especially because I needed to get looking a certain way out of my head. Because I'm in an industry where looking a certain way is obviously a big deal. And it was just messing me up. So then when I fast forward to 2014, because, all that happened in like 2008. And so like 2014, I'm like 4 years into a marriage. I've moved to LA by now. I've gone through the LA portion of my career, which is a whole nother story in general. But like I'm finally sitting down the street in Pasadena and my friend tells me, oh, there's a CrossFit gym opening up the street, which I already knew all about CrossFit because of all the research. And I was like, okay, it's time. So Pendulum opens. Yeah. And I'm going, well, okay, I'm going. That's it. And I came in and started actually doing the things that I had been reading and not just doing the things like, not just in theory, but actually doing it and going, all right, this has to stop. All of this stuff that I've been dealing with has to stop. It was just time.
Yes.
And so what happened with my food was doing difficult high intensity workouts forced me by default to stop eating crappy food because I just wanted to be able to do the workouts well.
Right.
I just wanted to. And it made me have to stop eating all this sugar, which for me especially is highly addictive.
Yes.
And for me, I have to treat it like a drug. I don't think everybody has to. My husband doesn't have to. Mm-hmm. He can just eat a cookie.
And be fine.
And I can't do that. I mean, I can now. Thank God. But at that time, I certainly couldn't.
Right.
And so what happened was it was sort of a chicken and egg thing, and it kept switching. But I couldn't do the workouts if I ate bad.
Because, well, what I see is that there's a performance because you are a performer.
Yeah.
Right? That is who you are, or that's your day job, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I shouldn't say that's who you are, but I mean, like in the same way that I would say that I have that performance side of me, like it's something that I enjoy doing.
Sure.
But the performance side of CrossFit, right? When you actually go and you eat the right things, you're able to have a much different output. You have a much different experience. Then the workouts don't hurt as bad, right?
Just like if you're practice with a metronome by yourself in a room with the door closed, once you get on a stage, it's not hard. It's not, it's like, oh, this is natural. And so the same thing with the food. It's like, and of course, exactly what to eat and exactly how many quantities absolutely will vary by person. And I've finally found, I was even talking to Liz about this today. It's just like, I finally found with my current schedule now, which I am working out far less than I was even 3 years ago here. But I've found what works now nutritionally. But in order for me to even get there, I had to remove all of this incredibly emotionally crazy driven, weird mindset about food. Right. Where now it's objective. I'm like, oh, my knee hurts if I eat all that sugar. Now, that's another talk too. More than it did if I didn't, and so all that to say, I travel the world now and it bleeds into more than just my workouts. I have a foundation of fitness because of being here and of being here for a time when I wasn't traveling so much. So I have this foundation of strength, obviously built a lot of muscle at the beginning, and I didn't really lose it all. Oh, I mean, you lose some if you don't maintain it, but I didn't really lose it all. And now when I'm traveling like 6 months of the year, it's not that I'm doing CrossFit all of that time, but I have this foundation of fitness, and I can also bring my nutrition into it, because not only is nutrition affecting how I work out in CrossFit, it's also affecting inflammation in my voice, inflammation in my body when I fly so much, all sorts of other things. And that's how it all ties in with me now.
Because you're able to now look at yourself as this performer, and you've now been able to understand and make informed decisions that, oh, when I eat this, it makes me feel like this, or oh, because you are such highly trained with your voice, and because that is your work, right? That is something that, like, oh, when I eat this or drink this, it makes me feel like I can't do a hour and a half show. I can't even
or talk to fans afterwards, which is harder than the show.
Right, for you, because that's like it's a louder environment. You don't have the microphone in front of you projecting things for you, so that there's more work. But the interesting thing is that you have been able to let that inform your decisions and how things happen, and it's not like, because we'll give you travel workouts. Chris will, we'll check up on you. We'll do video calls with you and make sure that you're okay. One, because you matter, but two, it's also because it's, I mean, like when you just get used to seeing somebody every day for, it's just like, it's like, so what's going on? Like, oh, did you get a workout in? No? Okay, here's one for you. And then it's just like, and then she goes, oh, it's almost like this recalibration for you, in a way. And one of the things that, like, what I want to, like, I think I spoke about this in Dale's podcast, but is that I will never forget the first time that I met you, right?
And I've worked with Dale.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and at 7 a.m., was it a 7 a.m. or a 9 a.m. class?
Well, there was a 7 a.m. class where it was just you and me once.
Well, but that wasn't your first session.
No, my first session was not a 7 a.m. I think it was a 9.
So that was a 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I had left, went home, had breakfast, came back, and your friend Monique was a member, was one of our first members, and she brought you.
She told me about Pendulum, yeah.
Yeah, and I pull up, and there's a line of people outside, and come to the back, and I walk up, and I see, and if you're listening to this and you don't know Aubrey, she communicates with her eyes. They get really big.
Thanks, Mom. Genetics.
Like, really big. Yeah. And so she's, here she is, that I end up walking up to the door, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Aubrey." And I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you."
I was so ready. I was like, let's do this. Let's change my life.
And it was so awesome.
Yeah.
I do believe that there was thrusters that day.
Ugh.
Right?
Yeah.
I do believe
Welcome
that
to
there
CrossFit.
was thrusters that day. Because I remember having to teach you on how to take, and Monique was just as new, and so like I was having to teach you guys on how to get the bar from the ground to the shoulder.
Yeah, basically
right?
a clean.
Like I had to teach you on how to clean on day one, just so that we could get ready to do the thruster. Because in the beginning days of Pendulum, like
everyone was in 101.
Everyone was in 101.
We were all 101ers.
For like the first few months, everybody, it was just always like one workout a day.
Yep.
Beginner stuff, like how to teach people and how to do everything, because we didn't have the ability or the coaches to be able to offer another class.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, this is very basic stuff. But what was, that was able to build foundational principles, because we were able to talk about other things.
Yes.
And at the time, paleo was the jam.
Oh, sure. And
right?
for me,
and that was for you. For you, that was
helped.
Kind of like redirect the ship a bit.
Sure.
And so, like, can you talk about that in particular? Like, how you took some of those steps? Because I know that other people here experience their own battles with food, right? And that it is part of the reason why that they may not be coming in, right? Because like when they do come in, they feel like crap, and it's like workouts should not be punishment.
They are not, right?
For your bad eating.
No.
Right?
Oh, God,
or
no.
for the choices that you make with your food.
Yeah.
The workout is a celebration of an expression of what your body can do.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you do take care of it the right way with eating the right things. And there's also like this reclaiming of saying that so there is no such thing as bad food. But we also have to have a certain level of understanding that certain foods are not the right choices for us, right? And so choosing the right things and understanding that, this causes me inflammation. You can't know that without starting to clean things up a bit.
Trial and error,
and learn about food.
Yeah.
So you started with paleo, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely did. And so what happened was, I mean, to speak to that, everyone is a little different. I'm one of those people who's an avid researcher, who's highly addictive, who's highly, at least I was, especially at that time. I'm more balanced now than I used to be. But at that time, especially, I was an all or nothing person. And like I mentioned before, I'm married to the opposite person. He's a moderating person, absolutely not an extreme person.
He's not.
No.
Really? You mean
not.
Chris is very
even-keeled and normal?
And, very strategic.
Yes.
The most strategic person we have.
He very much is. And very balanced. But I'm not. And I know this about myself. And so for me, I did have to do kind of an elimination diet in order, which paleo is a version of one. Sure. It's not highly eliminating, but it definitely eliminates grains, which is a huge thing. And it actually eliminates dairy, which is another huge thing for most people in this country. So eliminating those two things helped me tremendously because I started to learn what food closer to its natural state fuels me better than what I like to call Frankenfood. Frankenfood, which is man-made, manufactured Cheetos. Cheetos is like the ultimate example of a Frankenfood. I wasn't going around eating Cheetos all the time, but I ate a lot of bread and I ate a lot of cereal. I binge ate a lot of cereal, let's be honest.
Because it's basically just dried donuts.
Right. And I knew
exactly
it's just dried smaller donuts. So I knew already that this stuff wasn't something I should be eating a lot of. I already knew this. I already knew this very obviously, but it took a dedicated, all right, I'm just going to not do that for a while. I'm just going to take a break from that stuff.
What does 30 days look like?
It's not that 30 much. Days. And it did change my life. And so, but as far as working out is concerned, I did absolutely change my mind. I changed it. Working out and training is absolutely wonderful for your body. Wonderful for your endorphins, wonderful for someone like me who's susceptible to depression, wonderful for your mood, wonderful for your sleep, wonderful. It's the lab. We come here and we're going, like Kelly Starrett calls it the lab, I think. And you come here in a controlled environment and you move your body with a coach in a way that absolutely is good for you. Working out's great for so many things, but I had to tell myself working out is not for weight loss. Eating is.
Right.
And eating helps everything else.
Yes.
So eating is for the workout, but the workout is not for the eating. That had to shift. That mindset had to shift.
Right.
So I don't look at working out as let's erase what I just ate. I look at working out as let's do something great for my body that's going to be functional, that I'm going to be able to do for the rest of my life. And then at some point, 2 years into being here, 1 year into being here, I competed as an intermediate.
It was less
than a year. Yeah.
It was December.
Okay, great. Yeah. So less than a year into being here.
Yeah,
I wasn't really touring yet. And so then working out became for an even different purpose. It became for the competition. Let's make it. I mean, your wife coached us too. And her way of coaching for a competition is, well, let's make the training harder than the competition so that once you get to the competition, you won't be as wrecked. You'll be feeling good.
Yeah.
And so in that context, working out was to compete. And then now in my current context, working out is for longevity for me and for sustaining my life. And And eating is for all of it. I mean, that goes above working out.
Sure.
The food I eat fuels even my workout. So that means it's even higher on the food chain. And so, yeah, it's I have changed a lot.
Yeah. A lot.
I have changed a lot. And I am free now from this. From what I used to think was, oh no, I want abs like the lady on the cover of the magazine and then or the Instagram or whatever. And I'm kind of like, I don't even look like her.
Sure.
I won't look like her. I'm not tall. I don't have a tiny little bone structure. I can't train to look like somebody. But I can train to look as best as I can look.
Right.
And as, and if you did see what I looked like back then and what I look like now, it is different.
It is different.
But it's not.
But the best part about that is that when you were like, I'm the same weight here as I am here.
Right.
Like that picture for people blows their mind.
They need to know.
Right? That like, that's possible. And it's a very healthy thing. It's a very good thing. And it's the thing about you is the reclaiming of your mindset towards these things, right? Like
totally.
And that is so powerful. And that if you look at like just the old self and like I remember you sharing this with me like before that there was a time that you would try different exercise things and different things like that. And then but then you look at your body and the way that you are now, that if you are consistent, right? And you eat well over a period of time, that is the thing that pays massive rewards.
Absolutely.
And if you work out consistently, right? And it's not like, we're not saying that you have to be in here 6 days a week because you travel, right?
No, when I'm home, I like to be here 6 days a week.
Of course.
But yeah.
that's like, it's because it's home.
Yeah.
It's where you find life and it rejuvenates you. Absolutely. And it makes you feel alive, and you have your friends here and people here.
I like the service I get here, which is I mean, I pay you to come here so that I come here and you tell me what to do.
Yes. Right.
And it pays off.
Yes.
And that's what I invest in that too.
Yes.
Because I want to come and I program shows and I write charts and I write music and I run a business like you.
Yeah.
And I want to come here and be told what to do for an hour. I really do. And I can just trust that if I just show up here and I just do what you tell me and scale the way I should or RX the way I should, yay, I did the right thing today. You know?
and the right thing over a course of years results in incredible results, right? To be able to do like tricks at your shows that people are like, wow, she did the thing.
And just stamina.
I mean, like there's so many different things, whatever that you need this to be for you. It can be. It's just, it's a part of your journey. It's a part of your story now. It is.
Totally is.
And it's just, I think that is really kind of awesome, is that our people need to see that, right? And I think that a lot of our people actually get that. However, there are people out there that are not a part of here, right? That I can't wait till they learn this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there's just so much misinformation out there that's like, cool, go to this workout, do the workout, right? But there's no component of talking about the person, their stress levels, their diet, their sleep. And when I say diet, I'm not saying like, hey, you need to be on the keto diet or the paleo diet or the whatever that diet is for you. It doesn't have to be that thing, but it does need to be something that you find that works for you,
that you can stick to,
right? That and
live,
right. And that is really important, because that's what we do more than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Chris, for example, like he's here for a different reason than me. And that's my husband is Chris. And I came here first. I came here in April, and I was here, to save my life, and I knew that, and I knew I was here for that. But then when I would go home, and Chris would be like, "This is really good because you're happy, and I'm glad you're doing this." And I'm like, "You should think about it." But I knew when I invited him that he would be here for a different reason. Because I know everybody has a different story and everybody
Sure.
has a different history.
Sure.
I mean, for example, Lauren, she came in here and then she got pregnant right away, but then she stuck with it.
Yeah.
And she didn't progress very quickly because she kind of was busy growing a baby.
Right.
And then there are people that come here and have a way different body than me, or they're way older, or they're way younger, and it's changed for them. But Chris, for example, he was a high school athlete, a very good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to music school, and then he became a software developer. And so now all of a sudden his life is a lot less active. And I could tell that for him, it's like, he's not messed up in the head like I am. He's not, whatever. He doesn't have these issues, but he's an athlete in his heart and in his soul and in his body. He's an athlete. And it was getting annoying for him that he didn't have a way to be an athlete, and not just be an athlete alone, but be an athlete with some other people working out next to him. And because he had that in his life. And so I was like, listen, I know I go for a different reason than you, but you just try this. Just try it. It's not like an exercise class. He hates exercise classes. It's different than that, because it is. And I'm like, just go try it. And then he tried it, and he's like, yeah, this is what I need. And now we've even talked about it, the two of us. We talk about it, and he's like, yeah, I'm glad CrossFit's in my life because I need to move. I need to move. And he does.
And what's also, like, I see this from Chris's side as well, is that, yes, he is an athlete and he has his reasons why he does CrossFit. But the other really important part is that he works at home by himself, right? And when he comes here, he gets to interact with people that care about him, that are happy to see him.
Exactly.
And that there's also a level of competition inside of the classes. So when Chris is next to you, it's like, oh, that's the guy that's the guy in the class right now.
He's going to keep his head down and do things right.
Right. And he's going to count.
Yeah, he's going to count.
And you're like, and you know that it's going to be the right amount of counting, because the thing is that I will never forget a handful of Chris stories of where I was coaching and I would hear him under his breath going, that wasn't that, or that wasn't enough, right? And just like,
you skipped reps.
And it was like underneath his breath while he's moving, right? And it's just like, because the thing is that he got there before that person did, right? And there's no way that they moved that much faster than he did. So, funny. But those are some of my favorite moments. But and if you get to meet her husband or know her husband, his humor is dry and hilarious and subtle, right? And
you have to be right next to him.
Yes, and it's like they're bombs. They're absolutely, they're just like, he just drops them, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Oh man,
it's comedy. It's great. It's really great. So, but watching him change, and I remember in his 101, him and Ray both started at the same time. They're both still here.
That's so cool.
And they were like buddies inside of that class.
They were.
And inside of his 101, when we were teaching him on how to clean and how to snatch, and watching him move, I was like, holy crap, that guy's going to be like our first 300-pound lifter, right? Like, just because of how fast his hips were and explosive he was. And he's very, very like strategic. So he's always improving. And the other thing about him is that he will go, nope, this is outside of my scope for training for the day. He's very methodical.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have a lot to learn from somebody like Chris as far as an athlete side, to see like the progression, because he's still progressing and he's been doing it for 5 years.
He would do a podcast.
He would.
He would.
That would be. I would love. We'll get him on the show, because the one thing is about Chris is that people don't know and how much he talks when you actually get him going.
If you ask him the right questions, he will not shut up. Yeah, he will tell you. He will tell you the stuff. But you talked to Dale.
I did.
And Dale Becker is a speaking of friends of Chris, because he and Chris hang a lot. Dale, and they're very different athletes, because Dale's like the deadlift guy, and
Dale's the one set power guy that like, but he's getting better.
Oh, he's getting so much better. He's a big strong man. Dale's a big strong man.
Yeah.
But Dale produced 2 of my records.
Yeah.
And did he say something about my cats to you?
He did.
What did he say?
He said, Aubrey's a cat lady in training, and I want to
I'm
give.
trained.
But the thing is, though, is that like when people think of cat ladies now, they think of like the lady from New York that has like 30 cats inside of her house or apartment.
That's
like,
never gonna be me.
So thankfully. Why? Like, I want you to refute why that you won't be the cat lady.
Well, first of all, don't you have to be single to be a cat lady? Is that a rule? I'm very much not. I won't. The reason I won't be a cat lady is because I won't have 30 cats. I probably won't even ever have above more than 2 at any given moment. But I will say that I've always had a cat, because I have, and I grew up with cats. My parents always had a cat in the house, and I'm an only child, and I spent a lot of time alone. And so this might give me cat lady status, maybe, because I did spend a lot of time alone. But I was an anxious kid just as much as I'm an anxious adult. Like I had little anxieties and just little like I don't know. I was high strung, and I was.
I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, right. You don't, I'm sure. And so I would take this cat that my parents had, my cat, she was mine, and we'd be in the quiet in my room, and she'd just be watching me do whatever I was doing, reading my books, and she'd try to read the books with me, and this purring sound, and just petting the cat, and she's soft and she's purring, just calmed me down. It would just calm me down. And like cats do the slow blink, and she would look at me and we make eye contact and she'd purr. And I was just like, okay. I'm good. I can do this. You know, and now I have 2 cats because of that. That's why.
That's crazy. So while she was telling the story, I looked up, what does it take to be a cat lady inside of Google?
What does it take?
By definition, a cat lady is a single woman who owns many pet cats.
Oh, yeah, it's not me.
They may have problems relating to other human beings and may substitute cats for personal relationships with other people.
Maybe.
You may view them as an older hermit of a woman living a life of solitude with her many feline friends.
Well, I will say when I'm not on tour, I seek solitude like nobody's business. Solitude and CrossFit. So that's it. So maybe I'm half cat lady.
So you're half cat lady because you are married. And,
and I only have 2.
So, yeah.
And we vacuum a lot.
That's
because we're also clean freaks. Chris is a cat lady.
Even more. This is great.
Yes.
Well, Aubrey, where can people find you?
On the internet. No, they can find me on Instagram, Aubrey_Logan. And then if they just go on AubreyLogan.com, they can find all the other videos and music. All the music. I'm on Spotify.
YouTube,
I'm everywhere.
All the Spotify.
I've written songs about all of these struggles. If you listen to the lyrics without having heard this podcast, you'd be like, huh, she's writing about life. And then if you listen to the lyrics, have had hearing this podcast, then you'll kind of see some of the parallels, I think.
Absolutely. So I wanted to treat this as a very different podcast. I didn't want to talk about all of your accolades in music and all of that stuff, but I just wanted to talk to you as Aubrey the person and Aubrey the Pendulum member.
Yep.
And I really appreciate, one, you being here for as long as you have.
Me too.
And very, very grateful and thankful to have you here, and also for being on the show. Very, very excited to have you. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Drew.
And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, bye.
Bye. Yeah.